Welcome to the Breakthrough Advisor Podcast. In this podcast, we inspire advisors with ideas and pathways to break through barriers and build a thriving retirement income business. We will interview innovative technology developers, business leaders, and successful advisors, then help you organize and execute these ideas to move your business forward.
Hello, this is Jack Martin with InsureMark. I want to welcome you all to the Breakthrough Advisor podcast. This episode is going to be about the 7 elements it takes to build a $1 million business. The Breakthrough Advisor podcast, as always, is designed to help ambitious advisors really level up their game. And we're really focused this week on those 7 elements to building a business. And so let me kick this off. Patrice, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
I always enjoy having you on the show with us. So if you were to guess, what's the most valuable skill an advisor could have for building a business?
For building a business, I would say the most valuable skill an advisor could have, will hold on to building the business, is empathy. And then building a business is smarts. Needs smarts.
Well, that's kind of what drives the answer to the question, which is marketing. You know,
Yes.
you got to, in 2023, you got to be smart about what you're doing with respect to marketing. You know, frankly, it's gotten hard out there. And at InsureMark, what we've been doing most of this year is helping advisors, get that right mindset to think about what it takes to be a 21st century advisor, what it takes to reach the audience today. So we talked about 3 of the elements in an earlier episode, and we want to dive into the last 4. So let me just kick it off with number 4. Thanks.
No problem.
Lead capture. Okay. So lead capture. So that essentially means that someone of interest has filled out a form, made a phone call, sent an email, sent you a text, any number of those different ways. And so now that person has gone from anonymous to known at some level, right? Before we dive into that, though, I was talking with a guy who does a great job. He was with Marketo, who is one of the largest B2B marketing platforms in the business. They were acquired by Adobe a few years ago. They compete, from the small business level to the mega corporate level. And so he led sales there, and he was talking about how the marketing game has changed so much. How we used to think about, we're going to get a lead, they're going to download a white paper, they're going to watch a video, they're going to attend a webinar, we get a lead, and then we methodically drip on them and convert them into a customer. And what's happened is the world has changed. Customers today are way smarter than that. They know that if they download a white paper, that you're doing that to get their information. They know that if they give you their contact information, you're going to try and connect with them. You're going to try and sell them something. Okay. So they've gotten a lot smarter. And so the way we think about lead capture now really needs to be also about brand awareness. So what is the content that you're putting out there that supports your brand, okay, and solves the problem that your target audience has, or problems, or addresses solutions to those problems that would cause them to say, I'm going to give you permission to be in my inbox in exchange for your information. And so it kind of put the whole notion of lead capture on its head. Lead capture is the result of doing good brand awareness, of doing good thought leadership, of providing valuable content. It's not the cheese. It's not where you put something out there for clickbait that's going to cause someone to fill out a form. So, Patrice, what are the other customers over at Proudmouth talking about with respect to that? Anything interesting?
The big thing is the platforms these days. There are so many platforms, and would-be clients out there are really savvy. Even the older clients are much savvier than they used to be. Which of the platforms you should be going out on, and kind of like, leaving your trail out there? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook? Where should they be?
Yeah, that's a good point. And, again, that comes back to, do you know who your target audience is? Do you have an ideal prospect? Do you know what their problems are? You want to engage with clients where they want to be engaged with. And so that could be social, that could be the web, that could be email, that could be any number of places.
Is email
So
even viable anymore, though?
100%.
Really?
100%. Bigger
Got to be
returns off of.
personalized. Got to be personalized.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can definitely talk about that. So email does a lot of the heavy lifting, where the social platforms and web advertising and so on can work at that awareness level, maybe moving into the attention stage. The heavy lifting really happens with email. And so again, back to this notion that Seth Godin promulgates, which is permission for value. If you give the consumer value, they will give you permission to be in their inbox. If you're not giving them value, they're not going to give you permission to be there. They'll filter you out. So when you're thinking about lead magnets, you really want to be thinking about that permission for value exchange. What are you giving them that's going to be useful for them? And that presupposes that you know what's going to be useful to them, because it assumes that you have understood who your ideal prospect is and you understand their unique problems. So otherwise, I mean, potential clients are skeptical. They are smarter. They are skeptical. They will filter. They just won't give you, they'll give you bogus email addresses. They'll give you, funny names, and definitely won't give you phone numbers that work. So that's kind of what the lead capture piece is about. You gotta be thinking about your brand as well as value there.
So which comes first, the brand or the value?
You got to have brand starting at the top. And I see so many financial advisors that are using systems, buying referrals or leads, where they're not building any brand with that. One of the largest referral services hosts these quizzes on financial websites that consumers go to, where you can learn, what are 4 mistakes that people make, before retirement? What are 5 mistakes they can make, in leaving a legacy for their kids and grandkids, that sort of thing, right? And as you work your way through that quiz process, you're providing them with data, you're getting engaged, and ultimately you become a potential referral to a financial advisor. The financial advisor you get referred to has built zero brand awareness at that point. You have no idea what his value proposition is. You have no idea what his skill set is. You may know where he is because they'll refer in geographic proximity, but there are so many of those systems or platforms or tools out there to provide advisors with leads where there is no brand. So you really got to start at the top. If you're building good brand, then that opens the door to you providing, satisfying the permission for value equation, right?
All right. You've got you've got your lead magnet. Then you get to the funnel. The funnel, that word always makes me laugh. I'm sorry, it does.
Yeah, we can talk about funnels for a second. It really feeds into the lead nurture conversation a little bit. And so everybody thinks funnels are wide at the top and get narrow at the bottom. Okay. In reality, they're upside down. Your prospects in 2023 are not falling into the funnel. They're falling out of the funnel. That you are doing things that are causing them to pause, forget you. Your follow-up isn't consistent. Your content isn't eye-catching. It isn't providing value. Someone else starts to chirp, and so they're distracted. Literally, the next shiny object comes across their radar. So literally, today, you need to think about the fact that the funnel is upside down. You need to be pushing people through the funnel. And the way you push people is to achieve engagement. And the way you achieve engagement is by speaking to them personally. We used to, and I use the word here, niche market. And so niche market really is just one layer of where you're going to go with a lead nurture concept. What you've got to do is, as quickly as possible, figure out, something demographically, something psychographic about that person so that you can start to personalize it. So it may be as simple as their name. It may be as simple as knowing what school they went to. We teach a lot of the advisors to use LinkedIn and do research. Mm-hmm. I saw an interesting study the other day that was talking about how high performing salespeople today, and I know financial advisors don't like to think of themselves as salespeople, but at some level, you've got to close a deal with a client, right? High performing salespeople in the financial services space who are achieving 150% of their quota work 10% less time selling than folks who are underperforming. Think about that for a second. They're getting more by working less on the sales piece. And so they've gone to LinkedIn, they've gone to the website, they've learned something about the person, male, female, lives in Arkansas, came from a tech background, went to school at Arkansas. So, you get those little nuggets, all right? And now you can start to weave that in a little bit of a personalized story. So the subject line might be something like Arkansas plus tech equals, unique financial planning service, right? So that's going to trigger some interest because they're from Arkansas, they're from tech, and, maybe they've got an interest in financial planning. And so then as you start to message them, whether it's in video, whether it's in podcast, well, it couldn't be in podcasting, whether it's in video, whether it's in email or messaging, however you're going to do that, you need to start to incorporate those personalization elements. And once you're doing that, and then you've also got to make sure your nurturing is consistent. If you're not touching base with someone who's in your pipeline, at least once a week, they're going to forget. I mean, how many thousands of messages do people get today? I mean, between television, radio, inbox, social media, texting, all the rest. I mean, it's thousands and thousands of messages. And so when that's coming into your brain, there's only so much you can retain.
Is this a long journey, a long client journey?
It can be. I was talking to some advisors last week who said that their nurture process converted people that they had met in 2019.
Whoa, I wasn't thinking that long. To be quite honest, I really wasn't.
2019. At InsureMark, we work with a lot of super financial advisors, and it's not unusual for us to meet them, from a digital perspective, 2, 3, 4 years ago. And we do a really robust job of staying in touch with them, providing them with thought leadership, helping them address those problems that financial advisors have. And so, we're there. So when they finally say, you know what, you're right, this is a problem I need to solve. You've said you can solve that problem. I'm going to raise my hand. And that's what's happening with these financial advisors who are embracing the long lead nurture concept. They're using data. They're starting to personalize it. The next generation of this lead nurture thing is going to be all about data and AI. Where we can start to understand not only the demographic, but also the psychographic, but also the behavior. So as we study the content that they consume, so if they're going to the Wall Street Journal, if they're going to AARP, if they're going to the Financial Times, that kind of indicates that they're in a financial mindset, right?
Mm-hmm. So
we in the car business, they would call them in market, and so those are the folks you want to talk to, the people who are in market, right? So that's kind of what the lead nurture thing is about. The customer journey can be a long one, and really, if your time horizon is, I'm going to invite someone to a webinar. If they show up, great. If they don't, and I'm going to drip on them 2 or 3 times, after that, then that's just low hanging fruit. That is absolutely just low-hanging fruit. And so the other thing
but I'm sorry to jump in, Jack, but this is wonderful. It's a long process. How do you keep it fresh? I mean, if you're going after somebody, say, once a week, that's a time commitment to you. And how do you keep it fresh?
Yeah. So content creation. Who do we know who works in content creation? Who do we know who works in content creation? So that's a big gap to fill. And you start thinking about cutting a podcast into snippets, and how many of those you can create, and then start to leverage, across your lead nurture tool. I mean, now you start to see how that happens. That's one way to create authentic, relevant content. Video is another. We're doing a webinar next month that's called Turbocharge Your Business with Personal personalized video email. And so video is another way, either on a one-to-one or one-to-many basis. So there are a number of ways that you can do that. The key is it's got to be automated. You can't be doing that work yourself. You've got to find a reliable source for content to supplement what you're creating yourself. And so we have a partnership right now with a digital growth platform, and they just signed a deal where we're going to be able to get access to Morningstar's research. So Morningstar's research on, you name the topic: retirement, taxes, estate planning, investments, of course, to be able to use that, as part of a nurture sequence, to supplement what I'm doing with podcast, video, personalized email, etc. So,
and again, do you go to a vendor to get that, to have them parse that for you, or is that up to you, the advisor, to take the time to do that and make it relevant for your potentials?
No, the platform we use for that handles all of that for us. Okay. So it's all created, ready to go for the advisor. Literally dozens and dozens and dozens of pieces of content. A dozen new pieces per month created, plus subscriptions like the Morningstar deal. So there's a plethora of that content. So, okay, so your next is your favorite word: ascension. So not in the biblical sense, but in the marketing
Holy
sense.
day of obligation, my boy.
Okay, got it. No holy day of obligation here. So in this case, what we're talking about is elevating the relationship that you have with a client. They may start with you. You're going to manage they're retiring from AT&T. They've got a $450,000 IRA they want to roll over, and they need a financial advisor to give them some direction around that. And so that's where the relationship starts. And then over time, the relationship expands so that now you're taking care of the wife's 401k at Kroger, and you're taking care of the kids' 529 plans, and you're helping the family build an estate plan, build a legacy plan. All those pieces of a long-term relationship. So the relationship ascends, and so we know that the average affluent family doesn't put all their money in one place. They've got anywhere from 3 to 7 different financial institutions that they're doing business with, actively doing business with, and so that's a lot of opportunity, a lot of what in the old school you would call cross-selling. So that kind of makes a difference. And again, it comes back to whether you're building the foundation on a problem-solving mode or whether you're building the foundation on a solution basis. Did you come into the relationship saying, I can solve your life insurance problem, or did you come into the relationship saying, I want to figure out ways to help you create legacy value and create generational wealth? So,
and you use the word relationship. That is so important, because if you want the next generation to stay with you, you're going to have a relationship with them as well.
True. That's a whole nother conversation about how to manage that. But it starts with, being visible. And when the parents say, hey, if you've got questions, that need some financial advice, this is the person you should talk to, as opposed to, if you need help with your, disability insurance or your Medicare insurance or your life insurance, this is the person to talk to. That's a whole different deal. And so that generational transfer is somewhere between a 70 and 80 trillion dollar tsunami that's rolling out over the next 20 plus years. So a lot of folks are going to experience a lot of change.
Yeah. And you want that relationship with them.
Absolutely. Should we talk about referrals?
This is always a problematic thing. Some people say, oh, no, you don't need referrals. Do it yourself. And other people say, I want the referrals, but how do I ask for the referrals? Do you ask for referrals? How do you get referrals?
So I think the answer, there's a lot of answers to the question. One of the best answers I've heard is that you make yourself referable. And so what does that mean? Okay. So our friend Julie Littlechild up in Canada talks about engagement. Okay. And she says, or she asks the question, how many of your clients gave you at least one referral last year? And for many financial advisors, the answer is probably one hand, right? And if that's the case, they are your clients, yes, but are you really engaged with them? Are they really satisfied with you? And if they are just clients, they potentially could change financial advisors very easily. The threshold is very low. Whereas what her research shows is that as the clients begin to give you referrals, at least one a year, that demonstrates a high level of engagement, a high level of satisfaction, and a very low level of them wanting to change. So referrals, if you want the metric is you should be getting 20% of your business from referrals. If you're not getting 20% of your business from referrals, then there's some meat on the bone there for you. If you're not getting at least one referral per client, then you need to look at that individual relationship and figure out how you deepen that relationship. Again, this has kind of been the recurring theme of this podcast, but you've got to understand what their problem is, and they need to understand that you can solve that problem. And when they can articulate the problem that you solve to a room full of their friends, now you are referable. And so now you will start to see the influx of referral business come your direction. That's when you're fully engaged and you have clients who are fully satisfied.
And you have to believe if you've identified your audience, you've gone for that audience, this audience has become clients, the people they refer will also be part of that audience, and you should have the solutions ready.
Yeah, it's not a bright line,
Right.
in terms of the people you're going to get referred to, because there will be friends and family. But it does seem that when you start doing that, you do start to attract those people. I mean, that my wife and I built a financial planning business here in Dallas when we first got started around doctors working at the medical school. So there were 7 Nobel Prize winners there, hundreds of top tier doctors doing research as well as practice at Parkland and so on, and ultimately she just became known as the financial advice person, the retirement plan person. And so then it wasn't such hard work to try and attract new clients. And when new people came on campus, the senior guys would say, hey, go talk to her. She'll take care of you. So it works. If you understand your audience, they understand that you can solve their problems, and they can articulate that, it's going to make a huge difference, no doubt.
And the word solution, not fix. I like that differentiation. You can solve, but you cannot fix.
Yes, exactly. Well, that completes number 7.
Oh, that was fast. Was great. That was great, but it was fast.
Well, there's lots more to dive into.
Jack Martin talks.
Not usually economically. So we're talking about a lot of this. We're helping a lot of advisors over at InsureMark address these issues. As you can tell, we have a pretty good understanding of what it takes to accomplish these things. We've got great tools. We've got a great team of advisor development consultants who are in the problem solving business. So feel free to reach out to one of them. So,
and how can they reach out? How can they do?
insuremark.net. Come to the website, learn a little bit more about us. Come to the Breakthrough Advisor podcast, listen a little bit more of what we have to offer. There are plenty of links and clicks there. Follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Twitter. So we're on all the social media platforms. So
fantastic.
Thanks. All right. Thank you very much. On behalf of InsureMark, I want to thank everyone for joining us today for the Breakthrough Advisor podcast. As always, it's a pleasure, Patrice. Thank you very much for contributing to the conversation. We look forward to meeting each and every one of you individually. Feel free to reach out to us at insuremark.net. Thanks very much and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Breakthrough Advisor podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of InsureMark. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only.